The morning sun cast long shadows across the hospital corridor as William paced back and forth, his hands trembling slightly as he checked his phone for the 100th time. Kate sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair, her eyes red and swollen. From crying, clutching a crumpled tissue in her shaking hands, the sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air, mixing with the distant sounds of medical equipment and hushed conversations from other families waiting for news. 3 days had passed since their 7-year-old daughter Emma had been rushed to the emergency room. What started as a simple complaint about feeling tired had quickly escalated into something far more serious when Emma collapsed during her ballet recital. The doctors had run test after test, each one bringing more confusion and worry rather than answers. William stopped pacing and looked at his wife. Kate's usually bright eyes were now dull with exhaustion and fear. She had barely eaten anything since they arrived at the hospital, surviving on nothing but coffee and the hope that their little girl would be okay. The couple had been through many challenges in their 12 years of marriage, but nothing had prepared them for this moment of uncertainty about their child's health. The waiting room had become their temporary home. They had watched other families come and go, some leaving with smiles and relief, others departing with tear-stained faces and heavy hearts. Each time a doctor appeared in the doorway, William and Kate would look up with desperate hope, only to see the medical professional walk past them to another family. Kate remembered. Emma had looked so small and fragile in the hospital bed, surrounded by wires and machines that beeped constantly. Their normally energetic daughter, who loved to dance and sing, had become quiet and weak. The sight of Emma struggling to keep her eyes open had broken both parents' hearts in ways they never imagined possible. William's mother had offered to come and stay with them. They had politely declined. This was something they needed to face together, just the two of them, holding on to each other for strength. Their families were supportive from a distance, sending messages of love and prayers. But the weight of the situation rested squarely on William and Kate's shoulders. The hospital had a routine that they had quickly learned. Morning rounds at 7, visiting hours that seemed too short, and the constant sound of announcements over the intercom system. Kate had memorized the schedule of the nurses, knowing exactly when shift changes occurred and which staff members were more willing to share updates about Emma's condition. Dr. Matthews, the pediatric specialist assigned to Emma's case, had been kind but cautious with his words. He explained that they were dealing with something rare, something that required careful consideration and multiple consultations with other specialists. The uncertainty was almost worse than knowing something definitive, even if it was bad news. William thought about all the plans they had made as a family. Emma's upcoming 8th birthday party, the summer vacation they had booked to the seaside, the new bicycle they had secretly purchased and hidden in the garage. All of these future moments now seemed to hang in the balance. Dependent on whatever news the doctors would eventually deliver, Kate found herself bargaining with forces beyond her control, making silent promises about being a better mother, spending more time with Emma, and appreciating every small moment they shared together. She regretted all the time she had been tired after work and hadn't played with Emma, all the instances when she had been too busy to read an extra bedtime story. The couple had barely spoken to each other over the past few days, not because they were angry, but because words seemed inadequate for expressing the depth of their fear and love. They communicated through gentle touches, shared glances, and the simple act of being present for one another during this impossibly difficult time. Other parents in the waiting room had tried to offer comfort and share their own stories, but William and Kate remained largely to themselves. They appreciated the kindness of strangers, but their focus remained entirely on Emma and what the next few hours might bring. The hospital chapel had become Kate's refuge during the longest nights. She would slip away while William dozed fitfully in his chair, finding a quiet corner where she could cry without holding back. She wasn't particularly religious, but something about the peaceful atmosphere helped calm her racing thoughts and gave her strength. To return to the waiting room, William had called his office and taken indefinite leave, something he had never done in his 15-year career. His colleagues understood completely, sending flowers and offering to help with anything the family might need. The normal concerns of deadlines and meetings seemed trivial compared to what they were facing. Emma's Teacher, Mrs. Henderson, had visited once, bringing a card signed by all of Emma's classmates. The colorful drawings and sweet messages from 7- and 8-year-olds had brought the first genuine smile to Kate's face since the ordeal began. It reminded them both of how much joy Emma brought to everyone around her, how her laugh could light up any room. The nights in the hospital were the hardest. During the day, there was activity and distractions, but at night, when the corridor grew quiet and dim, their fears seemed to multiply. They would take turns trying to sleep in the uncomfortable chairs, one always staying awake to watch over their sleeping child through the window of her room. William found himself remembering Emma's birth, how perfect and healthy she had seemed, how they had counted her tiny fingers and toes with such joy and relief. The contrast between that day of celebration and these days of worry was almost too much to bear. He wondered if all parents went through these moments of feeling completely helpless when their children faced challenges beyond their control. As the third day drew to a close, both William and Kate felt emotionally and physically drained, had shed more tears than they thought possible, yet had held each other through waves of despair, and had somehow found the strength to keep going when everything inside them wanted to give up. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new consultations, and hopefully, finally, some answers about what was wrong with their precious daughter. The fourth morning arrived with the same mixture of hope and dread that had become familiar to William and Kate. They had managed only a few hours of restless sleep, taking turns in the small reclining chair that the hospital had provided for families. Kate woke first, immediately looking toward Emma's room, where she could see her daughter sleeping peacefully, connected to the various monitors that had become part of their daily reality. William stirred when he heard Kate moving around, gathering her things to freshen up in the family bathroom down the hall. They had developed an unspoken routine over these difficult days, each trying to maintain some sense of normalcy while their world felt completely upside down. The simple act of brushing teeth and washing faces had become small victories in maintaining their sanity. Dr. Matthews appeared earlier than usual, his expression more serious than they had seen before. He carried a thick folder under his arm and was accompanied by Dr. Sarah Chen, a specialist they hadn't met previously. Kate felt her heart begin to race as she recognized the gravity of having two doctors approach them together. William instinctively reached for her hand, both of them preparing for whatever news was about to be delivered. The doctors asked them to step into a small conference room, away from the bustle of the corridor and the curious glances of other waiting families. The room was sparse, containing only a round table with several chairs and a box of tissues strategically placed in the center. Kate noticed these details with unusual clarity, as if her mind was trying to focus on anything other than what the doctors might be about to tell them. Dr. Matthews began by explaining that all the test results had finally come back, and they had consulted with several specialists across the country to ensure they had the complete picture.
Emma's condition
Was indeed rare, affecting fewer than 1 in 50,000 children worldwide. The medical terminology was complex, but the doctors patiently explained that Emma had a genetic condition that affected her immune system and energy levels. Kate felt the blood drain from her face as she processed the information. William squeezed her hand tighter, his own face pale with shock and confusion. They asked the questions that any parent would ask. Was it life-threatening? Could it be treated? What did this mean for Emma's future? The doctors were thorough in their explanations, but the answers were not simple or straightforward. The condition was manageable, Dr. Chen explained, but it would require significant lifestyle changes and ongoing medical care. Emma would need regular treatments, dietary modifications, and careful monitoring of her activity levels. The good news was that with proper management, children with this condition could live relatively normal lives, though they might face more health challenges than their peers. William found himself thinking about all the activities Emma loved: her dance classes, playing soccer with friends, the camping trips they had planned for the summer. Would she still be able to do these things? Dr. Matthews assured them that while some modifications might be necessary, Emma could still enjoy many of the activities she loved, just perhaps with more precautions and planning. The doctors explained that the next step would be developing a comprehensive treatment plan. This would involve working with a team of specialists, including a nutritionist, a physical therapist, and a pediatric counselor who could help Emma understand and cope with her condition. The hospital had an excellent support program for families dealing with rare conditions, and they would not be facing this journey alone. Kate broke down in tears, not just from the overwhelming nature of the diagnosis, but also from relief that they finally had answers. The uncertainty of the past few days had been almost unbearable, and while this news was not what they had hoped for, at least they knew what they were dealing with and could begin to make plans moving forward. William asked about the cause of the condition, wondering if they had somehow failed their daughter in some way. Dr. Chen was gentle, but clear in explaining that this was a genetic condition, something that occurred randomly and was not caused by anything they had or hadn't done as parents. This information provided some comfort. Even as they grappled with the reality of their new situation, the doctors left them alone in the conference room to process the information and discuss what questions they might have. Kate and William sat in silence for several minutes, holding hands and trying to absorb everything they had just learned. The future they had imagined for their family had suddenly changed, but they were still together, and Emma was going to be okay with proper care and treatment. They talked about how to explain this to Emma in a way that wouldn't frighten her, but would help her understand why she needed to take medicine and see doctors regularly. They discussed how to tell their families and friends, knowing that everyone who loved Emma would want to know how they could help and support her. William, worried about the financial implications of ongoing medical care and treatments. Their insurance was good, but he wondered about the costs that might not be covered and whether he would need to make changes to his career to ensure Emma received the best possible care. Kate shared similar concerns about balancing work responsibilities with the increased demands of managing Emma's health. They decided to take things one step at a time, focusing first on getting Emma home and establishing a routine with her new treatment plan. The doctors had suggested that Emma could probably go home within the next day or two, once they had started her initial treatment and ensured she was responding well. When they returned to the waiting area, Emma was awake and asking for them. Her voice was still weak, but she seemed more alert than she had been in days. Kate rushed to her bedside, brushing Emma's hair away from her face and telling her how much they loved her. William stood nearby, watching his two favorite people in the world, feeling grateful that they were going to face this challenge together as a family. Emma asked if she could go home soon. Kate was able to tell her honestly that yes, they would probably be going home very soon. She didn't mention the diagnosis yet, wanting to wait until they were in a more comfortable setting and had time to carefully plan how to share this information with their daughter. The rest of the day was spent meeting with various members of Emma's care team, learning about medications and treatment schedules, and beginning to understand what their new normal would look like. It was overwhelming but also hopeful, knowing that there was a clear path forward and that Emma would receive excellent care. The fifth day brought a mixture of excitement and anxiety as the medical team prepared Emma for discharge. Kate had packed and repacked their belongings 3 times, nervous energy needing an outlet as they waited for the final clearance. From Dr. Matthews, Emma sat up in her hospital bed looking more like herself than she had since this ordeal began. Though William could see the fatigue still lingering in her eyes, the discharge process was more complex than they had expected. Nurses came in and out, explaining different aspects of Emma's care routine, demonstrating how to administer her medications, and providing them with a thick binder full of information about her condition. Kate took detailed notes, afraid she might forget something important that could affect Emma's recovery and ongoing health. Emma was curious about all the attention and the serious conversations happening around her. She had been told that she had been sick and that the doctors had figured out how to help her feel better, but the full explanation of her condition would come later, when they were home and settled. For now, she was simply excited about the prospect of sleeping in her own bed and playing with her toys again. William handled the administrative tasks, working with the hospital's billing department and insurance coordinators to understand what would be covered and what their financial responsibilities would be. The numbers were overwhelming, but he focused on the fact that Emma was getting better, and that they would figure out the financial aspects as they went along. The drive home was quiet, with Emma dozing in her car seat and Kate frequently turning around to check on her. William drove carefully, hyper-aware of every bump in the road and how it might affect their recovering daughter. The familiar sights of their neighborhood looked different somehow, as if they were seeing everything through new eyes after their experience at the hospital. Their house felt both comforting and strange as they walked through the front door. Emma immediately wanted to see her room and her toys, while Kate began the process of organizing all the medical supplies and information they had brought home from the hospital. William made phone calls to family members, letting everyone know that Emma was home and sharing the basics of her diagnosis. The first night at home was challenging. Emma had become accustomed to the constant monitoring and attention of the hospital staff, and she seemed anxious about being away from the medical environment. Kate stayed close to her daughter's room, checking on her frequently and reassuring her that everything was going to be fine. William spent much of the evening reading through the medical information they had been given, trying to understand the full scope of Emma's condition and what it would mean for their family's future. He made lists of appointments that needed to be scheduled, medications that needed to be filled, and lifestyle changes that would need to be implemented gradually. The next few days established a new routine. Emma's energy levels were unpredictable. Some mornings, she would wake up feeling relatively normal, while other days she would need to rest more and take things slowly. Kate had taken extended leave from her job to focus on Emma's care, and she found herself becoming an expert on their daughter's condition through online research and conversations with other parents in similar situations. Emma's medications came with their own challenges. Some needed to be taken with food, others on an empty stomach, and the timing had to be precise to maintain proper levels in her system. Kate created charts and set multiple alarms on her phone to ensure they never missed a dose. Emma was remarkably cooperative, understanding somehow that these medicines were helping her feel better. The hardest part was explaining to Emma why she couldn't immediately return to all her normal activities. Her dance class would have to wait until her strength improved, and playdates with friends needed to be carefully managed to avoid exposing her to illnesses that are compromised. Immune system might not be able to handle effectively. William struggled with feelings of helplessness. He was used to being able to solve problems through hard work and determination. But this situation required patience and acceptance of things beyond his control. He threw himself into researching Emma's condition, connecting with support groups, and learning everything he could about how to help his daughter thrive, despite her health challenges. Kate found strength in connecting with other mothers who had children with similar conditions. Through online forums and local support groups, she learned practical tips for managing daily life and discovered that many children with Emma's condition went on to live full, happy lives with proper care and support. Emma's teacher, Mrs. Henderson, was incredibly understanding and helpful in developing a plan for Emma's return to school. They would start with shortened days and build up gradually as Emma's stamina improved. The school nurse was briefed on Emma's condition and medication schedule, ensuring that someone knowledgeable would be available during school hours. Friends and family members wanted to help, but sometimes their well-meaning suggestions felt overwhelming. Kate and William learned to be specific about what kind of support they needed, whether it was help with grocery shopping, meal preparation, or simply someone to talk to when the stress became too much to handle alone. Emma's resilience amazed both parents. She adapted to her new routine with remarkable grace, asking thoughtful questions about her condition and showing mature understanding about the changes in her life. Her positive attitude became a source of strength for William and Kate during moments when they felt discouraged or worried about the future. The medical appointments became a regular part of their schedule. Blood tests to monitor Emma's condition, consultations with specialists, and regular checkups with Dr. Matthews filled their calendar. Emma became comfortable with the medical environment, even developing favorite nurses and doctors who made her feel special and cared for. William and Kate's relationship deepened through this experience. They learned to communicate more effectively about their fears and hopes, to divide responsibilities based on their strengths, and to support each other through the difficult emotional moments that came with managing a child's chronic condition. As weeks passed, they began to see improvements in Emma's energy levels and overall well-being. The medications were working, and her body was responding positively to the treatment plan. Small victories, like Emma being able to play outside for longer periods or having enough energy to help with simple household tasks, felt like major celebrations. The future still held uncertainties, but William and Kate felt more confident about their ability to provide Emma with the care and support she needed. They had learned to take things one day at a time, to celebrate small improvements, and to maintain hope while being realistic about the challenges ahead. 2 months had passed since Emma's diagnosis. The family had settled into their new routine with remarkable determination and grace. The initial shock and overwhelming fear had gradually transformed into a focused commitment to giving Emma the best possible life despite her health challenges. Kate had become an expert at managing Emma's complex medication schedule, while William had connected with other fathers in similar situations. Finding strength in shared experiences and practical advice, Emma's return to school had been more successful than anyone had dared to hope. Mrs. Henderson had worked closely with the school administration to create an environment where Emma could thrive while receiving the accommodations she needed. Her classmates had been curious but accepting, and Emma had shown remarkable maturity in explaining her condition to friends, who asked questions about why she sometimes needed to rest during recess or take medicine during the school day. The support from their extended family and community had been overwhelming in the best possible way. Kate's sister had organized a meal train that brought fresh, healthy dinners to their house 3 times a week, allowing Kate to focus on Emma's care without worrying about cooking every night. William's parents had established a college fund specifically for Emma's future medical expenses, understanding that her condition might create financial challenges that regular savings wouldn't cover. Dr. Matthews had been pleased with Emma's progress during their monthly checkups. Her blood work showed that the medications were effectively managing her condition, and her energy levels had improved significantly compared to those frightening days in the hospital. Emma had even been cleared to return to a modified version of her beloved dance classes, as though she needed to take more frequent breaks and avoid the most physically demanding routines. Kate had joined a support group for parents of children with rare conditions, meeting every other week at the community center. These gatherings had become a lifeline, providing both practical advice and emotional support from people who truly understood the unique challenges of raising a child with complex medical needs. She had learned strategies for managing the emotional ups and downs, techniques for advocating effectively with insurance companies, and ways to maintain hope during difficult periods. William had thrown himself into fundraising for research related to Emma's condition. He had organized a charity walk in their neighborhood, started an online campaign to raise awareness, and connected with researchers who were working on potential treatments and cures. These activities gave him a sense of purpose and control. In a situation where so much remained beyond their influence, Emma's personality had remained unchanged despite everything she had been through. She was still curious, creative, and full of dreams about the future. She had started a journal where she wrote about her experiences, drew pictures of her favorite nurses and doctors, and recorded her thoughts about living with her condition. Her writing showed wisdom and resilience that amazed both parents and served as a reminder that children often handle difficult situations with more grace than adults expect. The financial impact of Emma's condition had been significant but manageable. Thanks to their good insurance coverage and careful planning, William had negotiated with his employer to work flexible hours, allowing him to attend medical appointments and be more present for Emma's care. Kate had decided to reduce her work hours permanently, finding that the extra time with Emma was more valuable than the additional income they would have earned. Emma's condition had also brought unexpected gifts to their family. They had developed a deeper appreciation for simple pleasures like quiet evenings at home, walks in the park when Emma felt strong, the joy of watching her achieve small victories that might have gone unnoticed before her diagnosis. Their family bonds had strengthened through shared challenges and the realization of how precious their time together truly was. The medical team had expanded to include several specialists who monitored different aspects of Emma's health. Each appointment brought its own set of concerns and hopes, but the overall trend was positive. Emma's body was responding well to treatment, and her quality of life had improved dramatically from those scary early days. When they didn't know what was wrong or how to help her, Emma had become something of a celebrity at the hospital, with nurses and staff members always excited to see how she was progressing. She brought homemade cards and pictures to share with the medical team, understanding somehow that these people had played a crucial role in helping her feel better. Her gratitude and positive attitude had made her a favorite patient, and her visits often brightened the days of other families dealing with similar challenges. Kate and William had learned to recognize the signs that indicated Emma was having a more difficult day, adjusting their expectations and activities accordingly. They had developed a family code word that Emma could use when she needed to rest or slow down without having to explain her condition to others. This system gave Emma a sense of control over her situation and helped her feel more confident in social settings. The couple had also learned to take care of their own emotional and physical health. Understanding that Emma needed strong, healthy parents to provide the best possible care, they took turns exercising, scheduled regular date nights, even if they were just quiet dinners at home after Emma went to bed, and made sure to maintain friendships and interests outside of Emma's medical care. Emma's teachers had reported that her experience with her health condition had made her more empathetic and caring toward other students who faced challenges. She had become a natural helper in the classroom, offering comfort to classmates who were upset and showing unusual maturity and understanding that everyone has struggles that might not be visible to others. The family had started planning for Emma's 8th birthday, which was approaching in a few weeks. They wanted to celebrate this milestone in a special way, recognizing how far she had come and how much stronger she had become. Emma had requested a small party with her closest friends, and Kate and William were excited to give her a celebration that focused on joy and normalcy rather than medical concerns, looking toward the future. William and Kate felt cautiously optimistic. Emma's condition would always require careful management and ongoing medical care, but they had learned that it was possible to build a full, happy life within those parameters. They discovered reserves of strength they didn't know they possessed, and had been amazed by Emma's resilience and positive attitude throughout this journey. Emma's 8th birthday arrived with the kind of perfect spring weather that seemed designed for celebration. Kate had spent weeks planning every detail, wanting to create a day that would be memorable for all the right reasons. The backyard had been transformed with colorful decorations, and a small group of Emma's closest friends would be arriving soon for what promised to be a joyful afternoon filled with games, cake, and laughter. William stood at the kitchen window, watching Emma play in the garden with their neighbor's dog. Buddy, she was wearing her favorite purple dress and had insisted on wearing a special birthday crown that Kate had made for her. The sight of his daughter running around with such energy and happiness brought tears to his eyes as he remembered how weak and frightened she had looked just a few months ago in that hospital bed. The past few weeks had brought particularly good news from Dr. Matthews. Emma's latest blood work showed continued improvement, and her energy levels had stabilized at a point where she could participate in most normal childhood activities with only minor modifications. The doctor had even suggested that if her progress continued, they might be able to reduce the frequency of her medical appointments from monthly to every 6 weeks. Kate emerged from the pantry carrying party supplies, face glowing with excitement and relief. Planning this party had given her something positive to focus on, and seeing Emma's anticipation had reminded her of all the normal childhood experiences they could still enjoy together as a family. The guest list was small, but carefully chosen, including only the friends who had continued to support Emma throughout her health challenges. Emma bounded into the kitchen, her cheeks flushed from playing outside. She wrapped her arms around William's waist and looked up at him with sparkling eyes. She wanted to know if she could help with any final preparations for her party, demonstrating the helpfulness and maturity that had developed during her illness. William marveled at how this experience had changed his daughter in positive ways, making her more appreciative of simple pleasures and more aware of other people's feelings. The first guests began arriving, and Emma greeted each friend with genuine excitement and gratitude. These children had sent cards and drawings during her hospital stay, had visited when she was too tired for long play sessions, and had welcomed her back to school with kindness and understanding. Kate watched from the doorway as Emma showed her friends around the decorated backyard, explaining the games they would play and the special birthday cake that was waiting inside, William had set up a photo booth area with props and silly hats. Wanting to capture memories of this special day, as he watched Emma and her friends laugh and pose for pictures, he thought about how different this celebration might have been. They hadn't received such excellent medical care and support from their community. Every laugh and smile felt like a victory against the fear and uncertainty they had faced. Just months earlier, the party games were a huge success. Carefully chosen to be inclusive and engaging without being too physically demanding for Emma. Kate had worked with Emma to select activities that everyone could enjoy. And watching the children play together reminded both parents of the importance of maintaining normalcy and joy in their daughter's life despite her medical needs. When it came time for cake, Emma made a wish before blowing out her 8 candles. She wouldn't tell anyone what she had wished for, but Kate suspected it had something to do with staying healthy and being able to keep playing with her friends. The cake was decorated with butterflies, Emma's current favorite, and she insisted that everyone get a piece with at least one colorful butterfly on it. As the party wound down and friends began to leave, Emma received hugs and promises to play again soon. Her favorite gift was a journal with a beautiful cover that one of her friends had picked out especially for her. Knowing how much Emma enjoyed writing about her experiences and feelings, Kate helped Emma write thank you notes to each guest, a tradition they had started to teach gratitude and appreciation. That evening, after Emma had gone to bed, clutching her new journal and wearing her birthday crown, William and Kate sat on their back porch reflecting on the day and how far their family had come. The decorations still hung in the yard, and leftover cake sat on the kitchen counter. Evidence of a day filled with joy and normalcy that had seemed possible during those dark days in the hospital. Kate talked about how proud she was of Emma's resilience and positive attitude, and how watching her daughter enjoy her birthday party had reminded her of all the reasons to remain hopeful about the future. William shared his amazement at how their community had rallied around their family, providing support and encouragement that had made such a difference during the most challenging period of their lives. They discussed Emma's upcoming school year and the activities she wanted to try. Her dance teacher had suggested she might be ready for a more advanced class, and Emma had expressed interest in joining the school choir. These normal childhood pursuits felt like precious gifts after a period when every day had been focused on medical appointments and managing her condition. The conversation turned to their own growth through this experience. Kate talked about how becoming Emma's advocate had given her confidence and skills she never knew she possessed. William reflected on how the experience had changed his priorities, making him more focused on family time and less concerned about career advancement and material success. They had both learned to find joy in small moments, to appreciate the support of friends and family in ways they had taken for granted before Emma's diagnosis. The experience had also taught them about the strength of their marriage and their ability to work together as partners when facing serious challenges as they prepared for bed. They checked on Emma one more time. She was sleeping peacefully, her new journal on the nightstand beside her bed and her birthday crown carefully placed on her dresser, where she could see it first thing in the morning. The sight of their healthy, happy daughter sleeping soundly in her own bed felt like the greatest gift they could have received. Looking toward the future, William and Kate felt a sense of cautious optimism mixed with deep gratitude for how far they had come. Emma's condition would always be part of their lives, but they had learned that it didn't have to define or limit their family's happiness and dreams. They had discovered that with proper medical care, strong family bonds, and community support, they could build a beautiful life that included both challenges and celebrations. The birthday party had been more than just a celebration of Emma turning 8. It had been a celebration of their family's resilience, their daughter's courage, and their community's love and support during one of the most difficult periods of their lives. 6 months had passed since Emma's 8th birthday party. Autumn had arrived with its familiar promise of new beginnings and fresh starts. The family had settled into a rhythm that felt both manageable and hopeful, with Emma's health remaining stable and her energy levels continuing to improve under the careful guidance of her medical team. Emma had started 3rd grade with enthusiasm and confidence, her experience with her health condition having taught her valuable lessons about perseverance and self-advocacy. Her teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, had been thoroughly briefed about her needs and had created an inclusive classroom environment where Emma could thrive alongside her peers. The school nurse had become a trusted ally, and Emma felt secure knowing that. Support was always available if she needed it. Kate had returned to work part-time, finding a balance that allowed her to maintain her career while still being available for Emma's medical appointments and care needs. Her employer had been remarkably understanding, offering flexible scheduling and remote work options that made this arrangement possible. The decision to reduce her hours had initially been difficult financially, but the family had adjusted their lifestyle and found that they valued time together more than additional income. William had received a promotion at work. The leadership skills and perspective he had gained through advocating for Emma's care and managing the family's challenges. His supervisor had noticed his improved ability to handle pressure, communicate effectively with diverse groups of people, and maintain focus on what truly mattered in difficult situations. The additional income helped offset Kate's reduced hours and provided more security for Emma's ongoing medical expenses. Dr. Matthews had become more than just Emma's doctor. He had become a trusted family friend who celebrated her victories and provided reassurance during moments of concern. Emma's most recent appointment had brought the best news yet. Her condition had stabilized to the point where they could space her checkups to every 3 months instead of monthly visits. This milestone felt like a graduation of sorts, indicating that Emma's body had responded well to treatment and that her condition was well-managed. Emma had grown taller and stronger. Her cheeks had regained their healthy pink color, and her eyes sparkled with the same mischievous curiosity that had characterized her personality before her illness. She had rejoined her dance class full-time and had even auditioned for the school's winter performance. Her teacher noted that Emma brought a special grace and emotional depth to her dancing that seemed to come from her experiences with overcoming challenges. The family had started a new tradition of writing in gratitude journals each evening, recording 3 things they were thankful for each day. Emma's entries often included appreciation for feeling strong enough to play with friends, gratitude for her doctors and nurses, and joy in simple activities like helping her mother cook dinner or reading stories with her father. These journals had become treasured records of their family's journey, their growing appreciation for everyday blessings. Kate had become a volunteer advocate for families dealing with rare pediatric conditions, using her experience and knowledge to help other parents navigate the complex medical and emotional challenges they faced. She found deep satisfaction in being able to offer hope and practical advice to families who were experiencing the same fear and uncertainty that had once consumed her. Own thoughts and energy. William had organized a second annual charity walk for research into Emma's condition, and this year's event had attracted twice as many participants as the previous year. Emma had been the honorary starter of the walk, wearing a special T-shirt that proclaimed her a rare disease warrior. The funds raised would support research that might lead to better treatments and possibly even a cure for future children. Diagnosed with Emma's condition, the walk had brought together families from across the region who were dealing with similar challenges, creating connections and friendships that extended far beyond the single-day event. Emma had met other children with her condition, some younger and some older, and these relationships had helped her understand that she was part of a larger community of brave kids who were facing their health challenges with courage and determination. Winter approached. The family began planning for the holidays with the same careful attention to Emma's needs that had become second nature to them. They had learned to balance celebration with rest, excitement with reasonable expectations, and family traditions with the flexibility required by Emma's condition. Emma was particularly excited about participating in the school's holiday concert, where she would be performing a solo dance piece she had been practicing for weeks. Kate often found herself marveling at how much their family had grown and changed. Through this experience, the crisis that had initially felt like it might break them had instead revealed strengths they didn't know they possessed and had brought them closer together as a unit. Their marriage had deepened through shared challenges, their extended family. Relationships had strengthened through mutual support, and their appreciation for life's simple joys had expanded immeasurably. Emma's journal entries had evolved from simple descriptions of daily activities to thoughtful reflections on friendship, gratitude, and dreams for the future. She wrote about wanting to become a doctor someday so she could help other children who felt scared and sick. She also wrote about her hopes of continuing to dance and maybe even teaching dance to other kids with health challenges who might benefit. From the joy and confidence that movement could bring, the family had started planning a special vacation for the following summer, Emma's first major trip since her diagnosis. They had chosen a destination with excellent medical facilities nearby. But their focus was on creating happy memories and giving Emma experiences that would enrich her childhood. Despite the medical considerations that would always be part of their travel planning, Dr. Matthews had introduced them to a teenager named Sarah who had been diagnosed with the same condition when she was. Sarah was now 15, a star student, and a competitive swimmer who managed her condition with the same careful attention that Emma was learning. Meeting Sarah had given Emma a vision of what her future could look like and had reassured William and Kate that their daughter could grow up to live a full, successful life. The support group that Kate attended had become like a second family, with members celebrating each other's victories and providing comfort during setbacks. The families had become close friends, getting together for social occasions that had nothing to do with their children's medical conditions. These friendships had shown Emma that families like theirs could have normal, happy relationships built around shared interests and mutual affection rather than just medical challenges. Emma's 8th grade teacher from the previous year, Mrs. Henderson, stayed in touch with the family and often commented on how Emma's experience had made her more compassionate and mature than many children her age. Emma had become a natural helper in her current classroom, offering comfort to classmates who were struggling and demonstrating an unusual ability to see beyond surface behaviors, to understand when someone might be having difficulties. As the first anniversary of Emma's diagnosis approached, Liam and Kate reflected on the incredible journey their family had traveled. The date that had once represented their worst nightmare had transformed into a reminder of their resilience, the excellence of Emma's medical care, and the strength of their family bonds. They planned to mark the anniversary by volunteering at the hospital where Emma had been treated, wanting to give back to the institution and staff members who had played such a crucial role in their daughter's recovery. Emma had grown into a confident, compassionate child who understood that her condition was part of her story, but not the defining element of her identity. She spoke openly about her health needs when appropriate, educated friends and classmates about her condition when they asked questions, and demonstrated daily that children with medical challenges could live rich, meaningful lives filled with joy, friendship, and unlimited possibilities for the future. The door that had seemed to close when Emma first became ill had actually opened onto a path that led to deeper family connections, stronger community ties, and a more profound appreciation for the preciousness of health and happiness. William and Kate had learned that love, combined with excellent medical care and unwavering determination, could overcome challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. Their tears of fear and desperation had been replaced by tears of gratitude and joy as they watched their daughter thrive and grow into the remarkable young person she was becoming.